Chapter 13, Chapter Review. The following sentences contain errors in the use of underlining, italics, and quotation marks. Write each sentence adding underlining and quotation marks where needed. 1. The concert ended with a stirring rendition of the Stars and Stripes Forever. Underline the Stars and Stripes Forever. 2. There is still gold in them thar hills. An article in Discover describes attempts to mine low-grade gold deposits on Quartz Mountain, California. Underline there is still gold in them thar hills, and underline Discover. Number 3. Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, is being performed tonight. Underline the magic flute. Number 4. The 5th episode in the TV series The African Americans is titled The Harlem Renaissance. Underline the African American. Underline the Harlem Renaissance. Number 5. I Am Joaquin is an epic poem about Mexican American culture. Underline I Am Joaquin. Number 6. As a babysitter, I have read the children's book, The Poky Little Puppy, at least a dozen times. Underline the Poky Little Puppy. Number 7. The journalist Horace Greeley founded the New York Tribune, an influential newspaper. Underline New York Tribune. Number 8. Although the poem When You Are Old has 3 stanzas, it contains only one sentence. Underline When You Are Old. Number 9. The word recommended has 2 M's but only 1 C. Underline recommended, the letter M, and the letter C. Number 10. Robert Fulton's steamboat Clermont was the first one that could be operated with losing money. Underline Clermont. My father always swore by Newsweek, but mother preferred US News and World Report. Underline Newsweek. Underline US News and World Report. Number 12. In his novel, David Copperfield, Dickens draws a vivid picture of the Victorian life. Underline David Copperfield. 13. In Spanish, sí means yes. In French, sí is also used to mean yes, but only in answer to a negative statement. Underline sí. Underline yes. Underline C. Underline yes. Number 14. Tim asked, what time did they say they would be here? Tim asked, comma, quotation marks, what time did they say they would be here? Question mark, quotation marks. Number 15. Usually, they read the daily news on Sunday. Underline daily news. Number 16. Those bees look like 6s. Underline the letter B and the number 6. Number 17. I didn't think I would be able to sit through an opera, said Brittany, but I really enjoyed Hansel and Gretel. Quotation marks, I didn't think I would be able to sit through an opera, comma, quotation marks, said Brittany, comma, quotation marks, but I really enjoyed, underline Hansel and Gretel, period, quotation marks. Number 18. On Mondays during football season, the entire family watches Monday Night Football on television. Underline Monday Night Football. Number 19. How many M's and T's does the word committee have? Asked Betty. Underline the letter M, underline the letter T, and underline committee. Number 20. One of Catherine's favorite novels is Martin Chuzzlewit by Charles Dickens. Underline Martin Chuzzlewit. Section B. The following dialogue contains errors in the use of quotation marks. Write each sentence adding quotation marks where needed. Number 21. Before our field trip begins, continued Mrs. Garcia, be sure that you have a notebook and a collection kit. Quotation marks. Before our field trip begins, comma, quotation marks, continued Mrs. Garcia, comma, quotation marks, be sure that you have a notebook and a collection kit. Number 22. Will we need binoculars? Asked Melvin. Quotation marks, will we need binoculars? Question mark, quotation marks, asked Melvin. Number 23. Leave your binoculars at home, answered Mrs. Garcia. Your ears will be more helpful than your eyes on this trip. Quotation marks, leave your binoculars at home, comma, quotation marks, answered Mrs. Garcia, period, quotation marks, your ears will be more helpful than our eyes on this trip, period, quotation marks. Number 24. What will we be able to hear out there? Asked Arnold. Quotation marks, what will be able to hear out there? Question mark, quotation marks, asked Arnold. Number 25. What a question! Exclaimed Felicia. This time of year you can hear all sorts of sounds. Quotation marks. What a question! Exclamation point. Quotation marks. Exclaimed Felicia. Period. Quotation marks. This time of year you can hear all sorts of sounds. Period. Quotation marks. Number 26. I hope that we hear and see some birds, said Coco. Didn't someone once say the birds warble sweet in the springtime? Here we have a quotation within a quotation. Quotation marks. I hope that we hear and see some birds, comma, quotation marks, said Coco, period. Quotation marks. Didn't someone once say, single quotation mark, the birds warble sweet in the springtime, question mark, single quotation mark, a pair of quotation marks. 27. When, asked James, do we eat lunch? My mom packed my favorite kinds of sandwiches. Quotation marks. When, comma, quotation marks, asked James, comma, quotation marks, do we eat lunch? Question mark, my mom packed my favorite kinds of sandwiches, period, quotation marks. Number 28. Don't worry, said Mrs. Garcia. Most birds are quiet at midday. We can have our lunch then. Quotation marks, don't worry, comma, quotation marks, said Mrs. Garcia, period. Quotation marks, most birds are quiet at midday. We can have our lunch then, period, quotation marks. Ruth Ann, said Mrs. Garcia, would you believe that I don't know one bird call from another? quotation marks, Ruth Ann. Quotation marks, said Mrs. Garcia, comma, quotation marks, would you believe that I don't know one bird call from another? Question mark, quotation marks. Number 30. That's all right, Ruth Ann, laughed Mrs. Garcia. Some birds call out their own names. For example, the bobolink repeats its name. Bobolink, bobolink. Quotation marks. That's all right, Ruth Ann, comma, quotation marks, laughed Mrs. Garcia. Period, quotation marks. Some birds call out their own names. For example, the bobolink repeats its name. Bobolink, bobolink, exclamation point, quotation marks.